We hope you're ready. Here we are, the two old guys and a sweet young lady on the Two Old Guys Reselling Podcast, hanging out. This episode, something, 59. Does that sound right, Josh?
It's 59. It's right above on your screen there, bro.
Is it? Hey, yeah. It is right there.
Corner, yeah.
Can't read. But we are pleased to have we're excited. I'm going to just ignore you for a minute. We're excited to have Rachael Strickland in the house. Thank you so much, Rachael, for being here with us today.
I appreciate you inviting me. I feel like we're all the same age, so I'm not sure how I feel about this being called two old guys, because if we're the same age, then I guess I'm the old woman here today.
I'm not going to comment on that at all.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful about that.
Play it safe.
We're both married. We know exactly what kind of trouble that can cause.
Yes. We might want you to come back one day, so we're going to avoid this altogether. But no, thank you for coming on. We're excited, and of course, we're just Josh, less than 30 days away from the meetup. So a lot of things happening. I mean,
you guys are going to be busy. I feel like that's about like planning a wedding, trying to coordinate something for you're expecting around 100 people.
We're hoping for about 100, and we'll see. We're
somewhere around 50 right now, something like that.
Yeah, we're around 50.
So and most people come in, with stuff like that. It's toward the last couple of weeks before you get commitments, just like what we were talking about before. It's hard to work out schedules that far in advance, for a lot of folks. So we expect to probably sell more tickets probably in the last week and a half than what we sold at the beginning.
That's what I'm expecting. And so we didn't deadline tickets either. So they're on sale until the day of the event. So if you are in Crossville and you're wanting to come to the event, but you're like, man, I waited too long. You didn't wait too long. So just come on. Like it's open until the tickets go off sale when the event starts. So 4:00, August 2nd, that's when they die out. So, can't get no closer than that, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the hope is to prepare for at least 15 or 20 more people than kind of what our final count is on that Thursday. So if we do have a few that make a last minute decision to head that way, we can still accommodate them meal wise and everything. So
meal. Oh, you talk about food now. I'm going to get hungry.
I just had lunch not too long ago, so I should be satiated for a while. I'm doing 75 hard right now, and leading up to this, I was like, don't drink too much water. You do not want to have to take a break in the middle of this podcast because you have to drink a gallon of water every day.
It's okay. We got the name old in there, so everybody understands if we have to stop and take a bathroom break, if your screen goes dark for a second, nobody's going to wonder. They're all going to understand.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a pause button. So, would they really know?
They'll never know. It could have just happened and they wouldn't have known.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. What are we talking about?
Right.
Well, we started out, you mentioned the food. So we did work on the menu some. We could throw that in there right quick. We actually had a really productive call the other day to kind of get some of the pre-planning done and not only the food, but also kind of the schedule, working on, really trying to nail everything down, based on what we've got, I guess, in mind, or what we've had in mind to do. So
I'm excited about the food because I like to eat,
it's enough reason to come, by the way.
I know you're hosting it in Crossville. Is this in your backyard or?
This is in my backyard.
Yeah.
I live in Crossville. It's not in my literal backyard, but it's like
that's what I mean. Like, is it at a park or? I just know it's in Crossville.
It's at a shooting sports park where you actually go shoot guns. And
can you? Like, could we? I want to
go
make this
before the event.
We practice.
If you come before the event, you can go shoot. Yeah, it's not a membership park, so you shoot. You pay per visit type thing. And we took the kids out there one time and let them shoot skeet, like they have the ranges all set up. They have the rifle ranges, pistol ranges, and the skeet range. And they love it. And it's really well spread out. So like when you roll up to the venue holds like 220 people or something like that. But it's off to the side of like I don't know if they call them a pro shop or whatever they call them at a gun range, but like where you go in and you can buy ammo and all that stuff. it's off to the sides. So once you go past that, the skeet ranges are first, and then you got to drive like a half a mile to get to the pistol and the rifle ranges. So you don't actually hear like a ton of boom, boom, boom. And by the time we have our event, I don't think there's going to be all that much booming going on anyway. So
that would have to be like the coolest on-site activity at any reseller meetup ever.
Oh yeah. If they would actually allow us to do it, which we could probably, are they open? They are open that day, aren't they, Caleb?
I mean, unless they have some sort of special family thing that closes them down, as far as their gun range, they're open. I think they're open 7 days a week from dusk till dawn, like daylight, pretty much. And there's somebody there all the time.
That's something we could probably at least put out there, that anyone that wants to show up early enough to have a round, they could do that. They
absolutely could.
Fun activity. So,
and I do know this from one of the times we was there. Let's just say you show up, but you didn't bring your shotgun, but you wanted to shoot clay pigeons, right? So they rent guns there too. So
that's cool.
If you want to show up without anything, you can come in, rent a gun, and
for anyone that's like flying in, I guess that could really be a problem.
It could be a problem.
Missouri, so it's not hard because Missouri's constitutional carry, and so is Tennessee. So we can just carry on over.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. They there's another one, another gun range down. They're actually really close together, but the other one is a membership range, and it doesn't even have a venue or anything. But this one is really new. Like last year, we had the first meetup. We had the Pickin the Plateau, the first day one. We did it at the Crossville Depot. And the depot is a really cool venue. Like it's got a lot of historical stuff about it. And it is the actual depot that the train used to come through and all that. And it's non-operational anymore, but it was a really cool venue, but it's just not big enough. Like we had to have it outside and have the food inside. So it was hot and it was miserable outside. It was actually cool that day too. It was like 85. So I say cool. Tennessee cool,
Yeah.
85 and humidity is not cool.
No, humidity makes it miserable. But this venue will hold, I think, comfortable. If we have 100 people show up, we're going to be perfect. Like that is not even going to be an issue. And it's fully air conditioned. So like the whole room, the bathrooms, the kitchen, everything, everywhere you go is going to be air conditioned. So you can't beat that. That's going to be nice. Yeah. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. Like it's kind of snuck up on me. And shout out to Lucky 7, Nathaniel and Ashley. I just got 3 packages from them today. They're contributing stuff for the swag bags, giveaways, so on and so forth. And Rachel, I don't know if you've watched this show very much. I hope for your sake you haven't, because what I'm going to say, this part is not good.
He looks like he knows what you're going to say.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what I'm about to say.
He's referring to my joke a few weeks ago.
Yes. So Josh made a joke about what's the difference between an oral thermometer and a rectal thermometer. And
hope you know.
The punchline was the taste. Okay. So I was like, Josh, I don't know where that came from, but so
I thought it was funny.
Is that going to be on merch in the bags?
We've talked about it.
We talked about trying to order some of that on there, something like that on it, but tell her what we got.
So you know how mature boys, grown men boys are. We never grow up. Nathaniel gets he has wholesale. He has a warehouse and does wholesaling, and he says, "I'm going to send you some thermometers."
Nice.
I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I get them today. He sent me a case. There's 10 to a box. There's 30 boxes. There's 300 thermometers in there.
So give everyone 2 and tell them to guess which one's which.
That's it.
Oh my goodness. That's
take them together and put one for each,
You can get rid of them that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
you could push them
on. They're going in the swag bag, and everyone that watches the show will probably know.
Yes.
There's 2 thermometers in here.
I told Josh, I said, we're going to have to advertise them as new, not used.
That's funny. Oh man.
Oh my goodness. But he sent a lot of stuff, and we got we got more stuff. We've been telling everybody, that's coming for sure. Bring your stickers, your business cards, stuff like that. We'll drop them in the bag. We'll spread that all out, send them with everybody. And people that want to send stuff are welcome to send stuff. We'll drop them in the bag. We're going to fill the bags up until they're full.
Did you pick a charity for your auction yet?
We did.
Yes, we've got 2.
You can tell her about the one. I'll tell her about the other one.
Yeah, well, they're both basically recovery centers, so Christian-based recovery. And the one we're doing from Alabama is a female center, and so it's called 3D. Lord, I can't ever remember the what they say it stands for. It's deliverance, direction, and something else.
Maybe discipleship or something.
Discipleship. That was it. I think that was it. Discipleship.
I know
my brain just won't hold on to it, but it's 3D recovery. And so anyway, we're going to split whatever we are able to raise in the auction between that particular center and then the one that Caleb is familiar with. He has some friends that he can tell you about that run one.
We actually had our former piano player at church married this boy from South Carolina. So where he went to church, it was the same type of church and everything. And she moved down there. Well, I got introduced to his dad, who was the director of the Fairhaven Home for Men, which is basically the same thing for men. That's awesome. Helps addicts, anybody recovering, trying to get back on their feet, trying to rebuild their life, get their life back together. And they recently built a new venue that'll hold like 35, 40, something like that at one time. So they house quite a few people, and they get them a job. They get them, cleaned up. They educate them. They give them Bible education. They do all that stuff, and they get them back to being productive. So we're going to take that money and just send half and half to each one.
That's
and,
awesome.
We're doing a true 100%. Like, we're not holding back anything for us. This is all, every bit of it's going to go to charity. So we're really hoping we can do, I know we ain't going to raise no $10,000 or nothing, but we're hoping we can.
Who knows?
You never know. You never know. But we're just hoping we can do, a little something to help them out, a little boost, to help them keep
right. Yep. And the hope is, of course, we'll throw this in there right quick. If anyone has anything that they would like to send and you're not going to be able to make it to the meetup, then by all means, get the address from us, hit us up on Instagram, and we'll give you an address to send stuff to. For the auction, if we have more items than we can auction live, then we're going to do a silent auction table that'll be out from 4 to 6 during the meet and greet. So anyone that wants to bid on that stuff can do that in the silent auction format. And like I said, hopefully between the two of them, I don't know, like I said, 10,000 would be amazing. I don't think we'll get there, but who knows, but if we could get, even $500 to $1,000 a piece all together, that would be amazing.
Yeah. That would be amazing.
Be a large donation, honestly, for a small event. So.
Oh yes, absolutely.
And as far as donations, I was just thinking $50 or under is what we'd say a lot, somewhere between $30 and $50 value. So what we were thinking as pickers, because we pick all the time, we pick low, we sell high. And so we all have things sitting around that we spent $1, $2, $3 on, and we know we'll sell on eBay for $40 or $50. So we were thinking if people are willing to find something that's maybe not listed and that they know will sell, something that pickers would be interested in, send that type of stuff. That's what we're going to pull from our stores collectively, us and the reseller locker room for the charity auction. And so like I said, if people do buy it and they spend $65 or $70 on something, they can likely still resell it for $40 or $50. So both parties, we're using we're using what we do to raise the money. And I think that's pretty cool too, so ultimately the buyer of the good is going to be donating a lot of the money that's going to the two different missions. So.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I can't wait for that part. I've been looking forward to that. And the hope is, and we're not for sure yet, but that Nathaniel from Lucky 7 will be able to make it, and he will be our auctioneer. So that's the hope.
Cool.
Yeah. He is actually a licensed auctioneer, and he's helped us figure it out. We didn't even know if we was allowed, and you're not allowed to have an auction that's for personal profit without being licensed, but you can if it's a charity auction. There's no restriction on that. So And that's what we was doing all along. So it worked out good.
Right.
Perfect.
It's exciting.
All right.
It
is exciting.
Yep.
I love the fact that we can do that,
Yeah.
And I know some people do that, and I think it's a great thing to do. And Rachael, you got quite a bit bigger following than we do, but anything that the Lord entrusts us with, like anybody that we have any influence over that we can kind of, use to help somebody, I think that's just awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to miss an opportunity and miss a platform. And answered about that one day. Why didn't you use this platform, or why didn't you use, like, there's no part of my business that I'm never going to point back to him. I know a lot of people, will steer away from that in their business, and they're very shy to share their faith. And it is the same business that you would ask God to bless. And I just can't imagine in my life asking him to bless something that I'm not willing to serve him with,
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
100% agree.
Well, in the giving thing, I and not to get to, it's, I don't know how, like you said, everybody approaches it differently. We try not to beat people over the head, but at the same time, like I said, you can't run from those things. You can't not be who you are and also be authentic. And if you call yourself Christian, you can't just be Christian when it's convenient. You can't just be a servant when it's convenient. It's all the time.
And it should be the loudest part of your personality. Like that.
Yeah.
I want you to know that before you know that I'm a wife and a mother and a reseller and a YouTuber.
Yeah.
Like if someone, hey, well, tell me about yourself. The first thing I should tell you, I would rather be so on fire for Christ that I had it tattooed across my forehead than to die and you doubt that I knew him or wonder.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you
absolutely.
Who does she follow? Who is her God? Like, I want to be on fire enough that from having a conversation.
Right. And I was thinking about that, if he prospers us in any way, like you said, whether it's financially or in platform to have a voice, it's been a few weeks back now, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago in our Sunday school, I was using the parable of the rich young fool. And so, when he was increased, he said, well, I'll say to myself, take ease, rest, he could have done anything with the abundance that when his harvest was so big, but he chose to tear down his barn, build a bigger barn, store it all up for himself, and said, now I can just lay back. It's going to be an easy life. Everything's good. And of course, the moral in the story was, he said, thou fool, your soul's going to be required tonight. And then what's going to happen to all this stuff? Whose will it be? You know? And, the thing that stood out, though, and what I want to say because of what we were talking about is this, that, the whole point of that was the option that you had was to give. And that was the story that was the lesson that Christ was teaching in it. And, we have opportunities, and whether people are believers or not, I think anyone that's increased, we have great examples in history of people that didn't even claim to be a follower of Christ, but yet they still chose to give back with what they had, whether it was financially or otherwise. They gave it their time. My dad was literally, it was just a few months before he passed away when he was saved. But I watched my dad do things in my life, like, he'd get a call from someone when he was busy and had things going on, and he'd always drop what he was doing and go serve someone else before he would finish taking care of his own business. He literally built houses for 2 or 3 people with no cost, like he just went and did the labor, worked for weeks and weeks and weeks in his retirement to build houses for people that didn't have a place to live or where their house was falling down or had problems, and that was without that. If he can do that, then what's our excuse?
Right. Yeah. If we can do abundantly greater things, then where's the fruit?
Yeah. I told the church last night, I was preaching and talking about something similar about wisdom, being wise, that wisdom is not necessarily knowledge, but it's knowing what to do with knowledge and making correct choices with what we know. True. And I said, a lot of people, myself, you'll notice that I have no rings. I'm not a jewelry person. I don't wear anything. I did have a wedding band and I broke it, but anyway, so I'm not a jewelry person. I don't care for gold or anything. But I came across that and I made the point, the Bible talks about the crown of rewards. like a crown doesn't really appeal to me. I could care less if I have a crown in life, I'm speaking. Mm-hmm. But when I get to thinking about, okay, a crown in heaven, what does that really mean? Well, when I walk into heaven, I'm going to walk in really with nothing other than the rewards that I obtain through my obedience. But God is going to give me crowns. And I made the point, the Bible says that we're going to cast them back at Jesus' feet. So God's actually going to make a way for us to have something to give to Jesus. And I was like, to me, that's amazing. I have nothing to give right now except for myself. I just have myself. That's it. But when I walk in the gate, God's going to provide me with the way to thank God, thank Jesus for what he done. And I know this isn't a religious podcast, but man, you're exactly right. If you can't be a Christian all the time, that makes me worried about you. Like,
yeah,
for sure. I wonder
if you are. This because you made me think of it when you said what you did. At his birth, the Magi, the wise men, as we call them, right? They came with gifts to lay before his feet. And isn't it a fitting picture of what you just described to us, that in the closing chapter of the beginning of the eternity that's planned, that it will be a similar situation. But those that have been wise will have the same opportunity, because they're going to be given something that they can then bestow before him, as this is all I have. And all I have and all we get from him. I mean, there's no greater truth for us to ever understand or comprehend. If I'm able to get up and work, it's not because I have strength. If I'm able to succeed intellectually in some endeavor, it's not because I have intelligence. It's none of it is mine. It all has a source, and all glory goes back to him for any of those things. So that was great, though, Caleb. That blessed me.
Well, what made me think of that, I used to work with this guy, and he would all the time say, as long as I get in, I just want a little tent down by the stream. And I'm like, you're missing the point. You are totally missing the point, buddy. This is not about just getting in. I'm thankful to just get in, but I want to be as close to the Father's house as I can. I want to be like in the very next room. I want to be right there with him. Yep. I don't want to be far, far away down by the river somewhere. And I think people get that in their mind, like, yeah, I'm going to get saved by the skin of my teeth. That's not what the Bible says. He saves us to the uttermost, not by the skin of our teeth. I mean, just, we could talk about blessings all day. I mean, I could sit here and talk about how good God's been. And just, if he never done another thing for me, I could probably sit here the rest of my life thanking him just for what he's already done.
Yep.
And then he just keeps doing more stuff anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Keeps showing up. He wouldn't have to do another thing, but he keeps doing it anyway.
Yeah. Yep. And when he satisfies that, like sometimes he gives you your wants in a, addition to what you need. And it's like, I don't deserve it, but yet he does it anyway. And then he turns around and he does it again. You're like, I just am speechless sometimes.
That's it.
At the goodness of God.
Yeah.
He's very good to us.
Part of what you're saying, we do.
You talk, and then we'll do something I forgot.
You're good. I was just going to say, it's remembering why we make it at all is how we're able to remember that it's not barely, because it's never going to be by something that we've done or by who we are, by a name we make for ourselves. It's none of that anyway. So if it was based on my goodness or based on who I am, I would never have a chance to start with. But because we make it because of him, it's all because of Christ. It's because of his righteousness. I like the way our pastor sometimes says it, when he talks about, says some people, when they preach or teach, they make it sound as if, he just barely won, that it just, this was so, like it was a battle that was so close. And he said, it wasn't close at all. It was never close. It wasn't a field goal and 3 overtimes at the last second that he barely pulled it out. It was never close, Yeah. And it's that way. The victory that he gives us is the same way, but it's because it's victory that he gives us. It's never been about me. It will never be about me.
Yeah.
And it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Absolutely.
What you got, Caleb?
I forgot our sponsor package. I played it before we started, and then I forgot to play it after. So we'll be right back. Highway 127 Pickin the Plateau is brought to you by the Old Guys Reselling Podcast, co-hosted by the Reseller Locker Room. Our sponsors are My Reseller Genie, Faith and Paul, Grams and Pops Vintage, Corey and Teresa, Lucky 7 Auction, Ashley, Nathaniel, and Sweet Baby Gracie, and Mary McCain. We appreciate each one of you so very much. This is the kind of host I am. I forget all the important stuff. So, right. But I mean, you get to talking, and I've really enjoyed the talk so far. I mean, one thing you said, and I think it's important, especially in the world of social media, you better be yourself. And whatever you are, you better be that, because people can see right through it.
Your people will find you. There is no sense in being inauthentic. I remember being interviewed for a pageant once, and the pageant interviewer said, so you're clearly pretty loud in your faith. What if you won and they wanted you to be a little less charismatic? Could you do that? And I said, no. For me to do that would be you may as well pick someone else. And I thought, who knows how this person truly wants me to answer this, because I had half a second in my brain to analyze, does she think I'm too loud in my faith, or does she appreciate the boldness and she wants me to say? And I thought, I can't try to determine my answer based off of how I think she feels. I better just be me. And if she likes me, she's choosing the right person. And if she doesn't, then she chose the right person, choosing someone else.
Yep. Absolutely. That being said, I was wanting to ask you, I don't know what Kayla's plan was order wise, but in looking back like through some of your content and then some of what you've, not only the old stuff, but then you can kind of see it through that. But then a lot of what you've talked about in more recent videos, you've mentioned a lot of how in your backstory, how much reselling has done for you, how much it's changed, your life, and not just lifestyle. It's not about the monetary things, but like the way you've been able to order your life because of it. And I guess the question is kind of, can you kind of describe kind of like your evolution as a content creator / reseller, and how that has kind of shaped and made you who you are now? Like how's that affected you? Because it's been like almost 10 years, I think, since you started all this journey.
Gosh, when you say that, it really has been. I was pregnant with my youngest. He just turned 8. I was like, no, it's been like 4 years. What are you talking about? But no, I guess it's been 9. Yeah. Thanks for pointing that out.
Sorry. Time,
I guess it did just kind of fly. Yeah. That means it was fun, right? I got my first job when I was 14. I started waiting tables. I waited tables for 6 years. If you have never worked in food service, you need to, so you know how to treat people. Okay.
Yep.
Better treat people nice. They have a lot going on. And so I waited tables for like 6 years. And then I worked in a factory. I was responsible for wiring heat pumps and air conditioners. Yeah. And it was 12-hour days. I was pregnant with my oldest son at the time. And I was pulling these huge units down the line and wiring them and pushing them down. And I went into labor on the line. And it was very early too. We were talking like 2.5 months early. I did not need to be in labor, but the contractions were getting regular. I'm still pulling the heat pumps down. And I remember someone else there saying, you need to go call your doctor. And they wanted me to go. Well, this factory, I'm trying to make a long story short, but I'm not doing a very good job. This factory had like 6 occurrences and you were out. And I was pregnant almost the whole time that I worked there. So it was easy to have to be out for a doctor's appointment, because we were like 6 days a week, 12 hours a day. You had to take off if you had something you needed to do. And so when I went into labor, that was my 6th occurrence. So the next day they held me over in the hospital, to stop my labor. And I couldn't show up to work, so that I got fired. And I thought, man, like, what else was I supposed to do? Should I have had the baby and came back? But I remember a guy on the line next to me when he had a heart attack, and they had to use the defibrillator on him twice on the way to the hospital. And he lost his job that day because that was his 6th occurrence. Crazy. And I just thought, you are just a statistic. You are just a number. And so when I had that sweet little baby, I decided I wanted to be as present as I could be in his life. I needed to do something that was a bit more self-employed. So I was a realtor. For 15 years, I sold real estate. And 1 year I didn't have a day off until Easter. I worked every single day. And I learned that although I could take off and go to his class parties and I could be present at all the events, it always came at a cost. And it was usually making somebody mad. I remember getting yelled at by the new broker, the new owner of our company, because I didn't return an email on Memorial Day. And I thought I was nowhere near my computer, and he says, you've got to do better than this. And I thought, this cannot be it. This is not the self-employment I was looking for. So when my now youngest, who's 10 years have passed me having these babies. Okay. And I found, I'm pregnant and I got to find something better. So I found this girl on YouTube. She's not even a reseller. She just casually worked it in her lifestyle vlog. I never would have even known about reselling, but she mentioned going to Goodwill and selling what she found. And I thought, people do that? Because I shopped at Goodwill, but it was out of necessity because I was broke. I didn't have any money. Yep. I'm like barely making ends meet, getting groceries. And I thought I could resell the stuff that I find, because I find good stuff that doesn't fit me all the time. I have to leave behind clothes that are too small, but they're a great brand. And I thought, I'm going to do this. So I started putting items up. And I said, I am going to try to make $100 a week, because I think that would pay my grocery bill at the time, not now. No. At the time, pay my grocery bill. And if I can make $100 a week, I'm going to start devoting more time to this than real estate, because I think I've got something here. And it didn't take any time to start making $100 a week. And then it was $200 a week. And I remember the first time that I opened up my eBay seller page, and the deposit from eBay had been $1,000 that week. Not what I sold. I just wanted to originally sell 100, and the deposit was 10 times what my goal ever was. And I was so emotional about that. And I just kept pulling back further and further away from real estate. At the time, I had my channel rolling, and eventually completely walked away from real estate. I've never been more capable of creating my own schedule in my life. Any other entrepreneurship goals that I attempted, they weren't. I was still working for someone else, and I know to an extent we kind of still are. We're under eBay, we're under YouTube, we're under, whatever affiliate or sponsor that you have. But this is the most free that I've been, because I'm present with my kids. We take multiple trips, a year. And from that, wanting to make $100, I have this series on my channel where the car that I had at the time broke down, and I thought, I'm going to just save, because you mentioned Dave Ramsey in a few episodes. We're not necessarily Dave Ramsey, but we're debt free. And I wanted to remain debt free, but the car was smoking. And I thought, I have to save up cash for a new to me car. And I don't know, God just planted on my heart an audacious goal, and I decided to get a new car. I've never owned a new car in my life, and listed every item in my death pile, 50 items a day, staying up till 2:00 in the morning, 50 items every day for 3 months, and bought a brand new Ford Bronco and brought that dealer in $42,000 cash. I've never had that kind of cash in my life, all because I was like, let me see if I can make $100 a week so I can afford generic groceries. I just wanted to buy the always say, you know what I mean? The great value.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. And that
so long to say.
No, that's great.
There's probably somebody watching that says, I can't do that. But you built that, you just built that. And you ain't going to start off day one doing 50 a day, but it's going to be there before you know it. Because I remember when me and my wife started, I was piling stuff behind the couch in totes
everywhere,
just hiding it. That's how I'd have 150 listings, 200 listings. Then we bought the shed, and then we're up to 1,500, 2,000. I'm like, man, this could really, it can be what you want it to be. If you've got the time to go sourcing and to do the listing, this can be what you want it to be. And, I did the same thing. I said for a long time, I told my wife, I said, I'd like to make $50 a day profit. If we could make $50 a day, this could be huge. Yeah. And before I fell off the listing wagon, before that, our average was $300 a day. And I'm like,
isn't that wild?
I was blown away. I was like, how in the world? And
Show me another job where with as little capital as we pour into this, you might take $20 to the thrift store, as little capital as it takes, and it takes nothing to get started. Look around your house. Show me another job where you can legally make $300 a day. I don't have a college education, and I'm running multiple businesses based off of all around reselling.
Yeah. You notice what she said there, legally. I was about to name a few, and she said legally. Okay, now you ruined my answer.
And the flexibility that you mentioned, because a lot of people, so my dad ran businesses. He was in the Navy. I don't know how much you have known from my past, but my dad retired from the Navy, and he retired like before I was a year old. And my two brothers are a lot older than I am, but anyway, so most of my childhood, except for the first 6 or 7 years, he worked from home, and he did different things. He actually did eBay not long after eBay started. Later in life, as he was not able to do as much physical labor. And so I watched him run various businesses over the years. And the thing with eBay, and this is because, in my mind growing up, even though, I did go to school and I was a teacher and all that kind of stuff too, that provided me initially, like my choice was like flexible, lots of, time at home, time with family. That was my priority, not money, not, not what the education could do for me financially, but what it could do for me lifestyle wise.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be available for, like I said, for everything family wise, everything church wise. I didn't want my job, since I had the option to pick a path. I wanted to pick a path where it would provide the least amount of hindrance. But even at that, there's limitations. And so in looking at things that I could do entrepreneurially, like I had an aunt and uncle that ran a restaurant for 20 something years. And I love to cook, and everybody has always, I've always been pushed about, you need to do a restaurant, need to do this. And I'm thinking, but I've seen that, that's very, yeah. It's like you're talking about the 12-hour shifts. If in a small town, when you do something like that, you're there all the time, the time. And I don't want that, me and my wife have talked about it. It's like, I've never doubted like whether or not I would have been able to be successful doing that, but that wasn't what I was looking for. If money was all we're shooting for, there's a lot of pathways to get there, but this provides the means to, and you can do a lot better, like y'all said, than what you even think. Like you can provide even more on that. But if all you're wanting to do is be able to, like, once you're debt free, is just be able to make enough to where you can have the necessities, and then enough to whatever the extra things are, like you want to take a couple of vacations a year or whatever. If that's your goal, you don't have to work yourself to death. You can leave the rest of it open, and you can really just kind of slow down in those in between times and spend time with family, enjoy life, and not be stressed. And like you said, ultimately, like with my mom, the flexibility, like when I got that call a minute ago, I didn't tell y'all, but she was having a spell at her place that she went to today. She goes to Caring Days, a little place for people with, memory disorders. And she goes there like 2 days a week, and it's just a good chance for her to socialize and stuff. But my wife had to leave work to go pick her up. And so, if it would have been necessary, like if she would have been tied up, where she couldn't leave, to go ahead and pick her up, then, I wouldn't be doing this. But I could have said, hey guys, I'm sorry, but I got to go. Yeah. And sometimes that was hard, even working as a teacher with all that sick leave and all those days that you get. You still can't always just walk away instantly. No. That's hard.
You pay for it. There's always somebody that's so angry that you went and spent time with your kids, or took your sister to lunch, or whatever. Like somebody's, I don't know. And I like what you're saying about basically affording the lifestyle. Like pick the lifestyle that you want, and then work the jobs that afford you that lifestyle. And then keep in mind that it's not about how much money you make. You could make $1 million a year, and if you spend $1 million in one, you will be paycheck to paycheck. Yep. It's more to me about how much money I spend. And so we're extremely frugal at my house, and I think that's why we have more freedom to do the things that we want to do, because we don't spend a whole lot.
Yep. And you get that a lot. Look, even with my teaching job, and I've told people this, the last year that I worked, they had readjusted our pay scale. We had gotten a couple of raises within the last year. When I say readjusted, like they completely reworked it to where your years of experience had a much bigger impact on your pay than what it previously had. My pay went up by like, I think $6,000 or $7,000 on my salary just from that, not counting the pay increase. So it wasn't quite a $10,000 bump, but counting the pay raise and the readjustment of the salary schedule, it was big. It was over $60,000 a year, I think, was my salary, which is not a huge salary now, but I'm saying, for me, like if you look at it, and there's a lot that comes out of that because we pay for union fees and retirement. We pay a big chunk of our own retirement, so you take out the insurance. It's not like you're bringing home that much. And that's what I tell people. I said, teaching up until that last year, my average take home for the last several years was somewhere in the $2,000 to $2,300 range, because it changes every 3 years or so. You get the little scheduled bumps. It's the way it used to be set up. And I said, making $2,000 a month off of eBay, that wasn't really hard to figure out how to do. Mm-hmm. So replacing just the actual income amount. Now, that doesn't replace insurance. That doesn't replace retirement, those things. But like you said, lifestyle wise, I mean, it's doable. And it's all in what people think is necessary. There's pathways to that freedom. And I guess I started this to say this part because of people knowing like kind of what I made. It was always, well, how was you able to build a house? How were you able to go on these trips? Right? Well, one thing, like I didn't have a cell phone until I was 35. We didn't have satellite TV.
Wow.
I know. We didn't have satellite TV until 2009. I got satellite installed to watch Alabama play in the national championship game because it was going to be on ESPN, and I couldn't find anybody where I could go to watch the game. So that was also the same time that I replaced the old, like tube TV that I'd had in college that was only 19 inches. First time I was willing to spend money on a flat screen TV, 2009. So, I mean, the frugalness, it's choices. I've got to have it right now, or we can vacation. Yeah. So what do you like better? I mean, eat out 4 or 5 times a week or go on vacation. I'd rather go on vacation.
Right.
So I'll cook at home,
Yeah.
Me and Tanya was talking about this when we lived at the other house. We would be sitting there and she'd say, "Is there anything in here that we bought new?" We'd look around the room and I'm like, looking. The furniture was bought used. At one time, the only thing, and that's what made me think of it, was I bought a TV on Thanksgiving Eve when they had that big sale at Walmart. I got it for like $100. Before that, I had a $30 yard sale TV that was going out, and I'm like, okay, I'll go spend $100. That was the only thing in the room that wasn't yard sale bought. Yeah. And it's like, I really don't care, because I've got people like in my family that if I tell them, if I pick up something and say, "What do you think of this?" "Oh, that's nice," And if I tell them, "Yeah, I bought that at a yard sale." "Oh, you did?" Like, you did? Well, yeah. And then you're going to buy it from me on eBay and think it's new. So it's okay. Like it's not a big deal. But people it's all about perception. Some people want you to think more of them. So they're like, I got to play the part. I got to look the part. And, I'm old enough now. I don't care. I mean, I do care about my perception as far as how we were talking about it earlier, like I want to shine a good light. But if you're only looking at me to say, "Oh, look at the shoes he's wearing or the shirt he's wearing," or like he's a nobody, like I really don't care what you think.
I love fashion. I do. And I want, my designer bag collection is ever growing, but they're secondhand bags. They're secondhand sometimes to the point where I buy them, junk is in the title, and then I rehab the bags and like breathe new life into these things. And it's funny because it's like you say, people probably look, I mean, people in this town might think we have money, but I'm like, it's not like you think, because all of this stuff is used.
And what was that? Yeah. I saw. I don't remember if it was a short or if it was a post. I can't remember now, but it was one of your early whatnot purchases. It was a Gucci bag for like $30, a vintage Gucci. Was it $30?
Yeah, I just got one in the box over there. I just got a $17 Gucci bag.
Is that what it was? Maybe that's the one I'm thinking of.
Everything, all the designer things almost that I own come from eBay, whatnot, yard sales. I know how to authenticate it, so I know what I'm looking for. And like, I don't want to deprive myself of the niceties. This crystal glass, I might look bougie drinking out of it, but this was 25 cents at a yard sale. I like metal and wood and those old things that they're not making anymore. And like people have asked before if you could only sell one thing, because I love vintage and I love designer things, but I feel like someone else would pick up the designer item and save it. But what if someone else didn't see the value in like the used gum wrapper? Like, I see the value in it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've sold a used gum wrapper. It was
Yeah,
headed
the
to
Wrigley. I saw that.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, especially like I say, wood, metal, and glass. They're not making things out of that anymore. And I see the value there and I want to preserve it. So yeah, maybe I'm a historian more than a reseller.
Well, see, and I think that's part of what attracts me to it, because I've always, I mean, of course, I was a history teacher first. That was my primary area, and that connection to it, and it's more like I was always more interested in more modern history, not like ancient history. There's parts I like, but as far as teaching and learning about, it was the industrial era. So it's the stuff that I had, that I related to, things that I saw, and like you said, seeing value and stuff. And I think part of that too, Caleb mentioned perspective. It has to do, not that we can't get there anyway, because we can grow to that point. But I mean, I remember being a kid and being excited because the bag of hand-me-down clothes that came from someone else in the family that did have, a better income, they were coming to my house, and I got to dig through and find stuff I would never get to have otherwise. And you appreciate that. Or like you said, from the time I was little, I remember going to the thrift store. I mean, if I ever had a suit, that's where it came from. And my mom made the alterations. It went from a suit store. And I didn't have it one or two ever anyway when I was a kid. But, I remember once or twice, like, she was able to find one that she could alter, but it was like from a thrift store. And
it's so important to raise kids up with that frugality.
Yeah.
Like I like saying that my kids are 10 years apart, and I was completely different situation financially when my oldest was younger, and bless his heart, like, we got goober because we couldn't afford peanut butter and jelly. You know what I mean? Like, we needed it all to be in one jar. Like, I didn't have a whole lot, and I have more with my youngest. So I have to still take him to the thrift store, and he gets so excited. He'll, Mom, look, it's a lightsaber and it's only 25 cents. And he knows if something's a good deal too.
Yeah.
So,
and you're thinking, I could sell that for $50. We need to put
oh my goodness. I don't even bother reselling toys. If I do, he cannot see them because he's going to want it every time. Or I'll say, okay, but give me something I can sell.
You get one, I get one.
I would tell my kid, my son, when we would be in the store, I would always make him, like, when he would want something, because he didn't have a lot. I didn't give him a lot of spending money, but I'd always make sure he had, say like $20 or something like that. And so my thing was always, are you willing to spend your money on it?
Yeah.
When you pick it up, I really want this. Will you get this for me? Well, you've got money I gave you to buy you something, are you willing to spend your money on it? I said, look, if you're not willing to spend your own money on it, then you probably don't need it. It's probably something you should pass up, because we have to learn that. Look, I walk in now to Walmart and I see these, 75-inch television, that's like $500. Or, I mean, it blows my mind, like, that you can. I spent almost $800 on the first flat screen. It was like 40 inches. I mean, it's like I'm amazed at how technology does. Of course, it's disposable. It might not last but 5 years before you have to throw it away. But nevertheless, it's like, it amazes me. But I still have to do that to myself. Like, do I really need this? And that was really what I was trying to teach him. Do I really need this? So, frugality, man, I'm telling you, so many areas, not just in thrifting, but even in just, being able to, I think that's so important today, and it's overlooked, being able to classify things honestly as want versus need. Because you talk about your financial situation, you want to find the answer to the problem. Usually that's where it lies.
Yeah.
We're classifying too many wants as needs, and they definitely are not.
Absolutely. I remember when me and Tanya first got married. So we're about to go into our segment about wrestling. So this is a good way to bring it up, right? So back in that day, like, it was, I bought every pay-per-view, and this is when they was $30-$35 a month. So 2-3 times a month, I'm spending $100 a month on a television show, literally like 7-8 hours worth of TV, and I had to have certain satellite, I had to have certain package, I had to have this, and I always said I got to, like, I have to have it. Now I look at it like, I really don't care if we have anything. I mean, we right now have a couple of streaming options, and that's what we watch. I don't. At the other house, I had antenna. I've not paid a TV bill in like 15 years because I look at it as it's a want. It is really not a need. And you say, well, I have to watch my news. No, look, you can go on your phone, your computer. You can
You'd be
turn
better
on
off
the
to not watch
radio.
the news anyway.
You are better off not watching
real.
the news anyway. I agree. But I mean, there are so many options. People say, well, I have to. You don't have to. It's a total want. It is a
you have
total
to eat. Want. You have to have water.
You have to have clothes. Yeah, you have to have that stuff. Yep. And I love what you was talking about. Both of you kind of touched on it. You know, one of the biggest ways to succeed with money is pay cash. Mm-hmm. Because when you pay cash, if you made $500 at work that week and you put $500 in your wallet and you go to the store and you start to pull it out for this item and you see that $500, you know you're going to have to give away half of that to get that. You're going to think, man, I worked X amount of hours to get this. It hurts a whole lot more than it does to swipe a card. Like it hurts a whole lot more to part with what you actually know you have. Because that card is false sense of security.
When I bought that Bronco, we went down to the bank and I didn't give them a heads up. We're in such a small town though. I did not tell them, like looking back, hindsight, I probably should have told them I'm going to be coming to pull this out in cash. But they were just like, okay, Rachel, sit and wait.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. Yeah.
And see that, I mean, I love the way you done that, but that still had to play on your mind. Like, do I really want to give this money? You know, like
I needed to see like the culmination of all of that hard work. I wanted to physically see it, which $42,000 doesn't make as big of a pile as what you think. It fit in a bank bag.
Right.
And then I had to drive back to the dealership with it though. But I was doing it for a video and I told them at the dealership, it's not going to make a whole lot of impact for me to hand you a check. I need to like plop this down in your desk. And again, we're such a small town. I mean, I think they're subscribed to the channel. They thought it was cool too.
Yeah. Good publicity.
So awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. Well, let's hit up one of our segments because we don't want to keep you all day, but we do want to hit a couple of segments that are this show wouldn't be this show without them. So let's do a little wrestling talk right quick. All right, Josh, I have no idea what you picked this week, but I'm going first because I'm afraid you picked what I picked.
Now go ahead.
Okay. 1996. Yep, I already took yours away, didn't I?
No, you're good. I had to. I knew you'd take that one.
Okay, good. So 96 WCW Bash at the Beach was in Daytona Beach, Florida. Around this time was when Scott Hall and Kevin Nash showed up on TV, and everybody thought because the internet was such in its infancy, you couldn't find rumors and news just like that. So everybody thought, you know, Vince McMahon has sent these guys over to take over WCW. And it all played out at the pay-per-view Bash at the Beach. Sting, Lex Luger, and the Macho Man fought Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, and they had a mystery third partner. Well, he didn't show up. He wasn't there. Lex Luger gets taken out during the match. It becomes a 2-on-2 affair until finally Hulk Hogan makes his way down. And everybody's thinking Hogan is taking Luger's spot. He's here to rescue WCW until he drops the big leg on Macho Man and officially turns heel in what was probably one of the most shocking, if not, I mean, maybe the most shocking moment in wrestling history. You have Hulk Hogan, the ultimate good guy, turning into the ultimate bad guy.
Yep.
And it revitalized his career because there was people that was getting tired of seeing him. He'd been the good guy for, 12 years or something. And it created the most famous, probably the most famous stable in wrestling history, the NWO. Yep. One of my favorite moments right there. I still go back and watch that sometimes, and I'm like, man, this is like the coolest history ever. Like, I'm a wrestling nerd. Sorry. That's all. You can go ahead, Josh.
What you cut out on us, the coolest history ever. What was your comment after that, boss?
I'm a wrestling nerd.
Oh, okay. Maybe you didn't. There was a little glitch. I thought we missed something. So mine is also a Great American Bash. It was 1990, and that was the last time that it was NWA, and it was also a big match between Flair and Sting, and the first time that Sting had won the NWA Heavyweight Championship. That's all I had. So since you took the really cool one, I'll go with that. But that's
I didn't actually realize that was this week that Sting won his first title. That's pretty cool.
Did you guys watch these matches like at the time that they aired?
I watched.
I did.
Bash at the Beach, I probably did. Now, 90, I would have been 7 years old. So We didn't have cable back then. But in 96, I want to say probably I did watch that one because I watched a lot of them back then.
So he is calling me old because in 90 I was 5. So I reiterate what I said at the beginning of this episode that we're about the same age. How dare you call yourself old?
Well, Caleb's younger than I am. I'm the oldest one here. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I feel okay with that because you're younger. So you can still say you're younger than the 2 old guys. So.
Right. So I didn't do the pay-per-views. One time, 1998, I was 17 or 18. I don't remember when it would have. I guess I'd have been 17 because of when it takes place. But I did pay for that one. I asked permission to order it. I had enough money put back. That was the only time I ever did a pay-per-view. I didn't have the money for it, just being honest. So that wasn't something that happened. My dad, I remember him. I think I might have mentioned this before on the podcast, but I only remember him ever paying one time for anything pay-per-view, and it was the infamous Mike Tyson Evander Holyfield fight where it ended in the first round, because he bit his ear off. And my dad was so mad. God, he was so mad. That was an expensive fight even then. It was like $50 or $60 to buy the pay-per-view. And he got the undercard, and the only fight he was interested in was that one because it was the third matchup. And my dad was a huge, huge boxing fan. And he waited to the last minute to commit to spending the money. He was very, very, very frugal talking about that. And so,
but at least he got to see it happen live.
He did, but that wasn't what he wanted to see. I'm telling you, he wanted to see him. He wanted to see him go 12 rounds and
really get his money's worth.
Finish. Yeah, I mean, he loved to watch actual boxing. So to him, that was like the most terrible thing ever. But anyway, I watched like the Monday night stuff. Probably for about 3 or 4 years there because we didn't have we had. You remember Prime Star? Did y'all have Prime Star?
I feel like I remember that. Was that like a cable provider?
Yeah, it was like before Dish and DirecTV. It was one of the earliest ones. But anyway, that's what we had to start with, and then we went to Dish. But anyway, that was what we had, and so until we had that, there was not other than Saturday mornings when I was really young. That's when I watched most of the time those early Saturday morning recordings, but then the last, I guess, maybe like from about 96 or so on, from about the NWO era, I was able to watch the Monday night stuff. So my connection is a lot less than Caleb's, but Caleb, man, his goes deep.
I used to tape trade with my friend. I don't know where he got his from, but he had like a big old tote full of tapes, and they were all like pirated. You recorded them while you watched them, and I don't even know where he got them, but. So before that time, my knowledge was like 92 to 93. Well, his tapes was like 80s, early 90s. So I caught up on all that. And of course, nowadays, if you want to know, WWE on Peacock, you can watch everything if you want to. And I don't keep up with it anymore. I mean, I have a general awareness of it. I know Sting just retired, and I know like Chris Jericho's still trying to wrestle. I know some of that stuff, but
it's like this with social.
Now.
Yeah. With social media, you do not have to actually watch anything or follow anything specifically. You only have to stop on one video upload or one short just once or twice and watch the whole thing, and it will start feeding you a steady diet of everything that has to do with that. So,
that's true.
I mean, it's AI is scary. I mean, what it's doing.
It is.
You don't even have to click on it. If your eye lingers on the For You page and they see you looking at something, then they'll keep feeding you that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Crazy. All right, now we need to get to the most important part of the show. This is where I'm going. Actually, I think I don't know.
We're gonna do our comment.
Well, I was forgetting about that. I was going straight up to where I'm going to defeat you. But, we can do a comment too. That's a good thing to do. I totally forgot about it. I was just going to skip it.
It's good. It won't take but a second.
Go ahead. I'm looking at mine.
I went with Chad, reselling with Woody this week. Last week he said, "Great show, fellas. Always be proud of who you are. I know for a fact I have a thick Oklahoma accent, as I've said in the past. I always feel at home here." And he said, "Keep on doing what you're doing, and thanks for the great info you share." But really the part about, being who you are, I thought that is really fitting considering all we talked about at the beginning. to be authentic and be comfortable with who you are. You don't have to hide it. I really like what you said, Rachael, that there's an audience for everyone, but you have to be confident enough in who you are to be who you are. Or if you're someone different every time that you record, if you're trying to do YouTube, you'll never build a really dedicated audience.
Your people will never find you if you're wearing a mask. They won't even be able to see you.
That's it.
That's
absolutely.
Right.
I like that a lot.
That's absolutely true. Well, my comment came from our new sponsor, Mary McCain. She said, "Hi guys, great new intro. Hope you had a happy 4th. A lot of interesting discussions. Josh, thanks for answering my question. What a great buyer who kept her word. Said she hopes your mom's feeling better. And she thanked me for the sales pickup and was pleasantly surprised that the week done good. It was 4th of July. But I mentioned her because she did come in. She messaged this week wanting to sponsor the meetup. And she'd already bought tickets. Her and her son, I think she said, is coming. So she had bought tickets and she wanted to go ahead and level up and be a sponsor. So we really appreciate you, Mary. And what we talked about this last night over with Grams and Pops on their live, what pushed Mary over the edge was she actually got to go do the debt-free scream with Dave Ramsey. She got to be on the show and do that. And I thought that was so cool. But she said she had been thinking about it and she was thinking about, what could she offer to being a guest on this show. And she said, well, maybe I could tell my story, about being financially free and all that. And I said, that'd be great. We'd love that. And she said, as she was thinking that, she walked out of the room, walked back in, had this show playing, and Josh had just entered into the conversation talking about Dave Ramsey. And she said it was just one of them God moments. She went, I'm supposed to do this. And so she contacted me, and that's it. She's ready. So that was really awesome. I thought that was really cool the way that all happened. And we really appreciate you coming on board, Mary.
Absolutely.
All right. Now, I'm going to say, are you ready to get defeated? I don't know if I'm ready to defeat you. We'll see. And Rachael has a joke.
That's right.
I mean, I could beat both of you guys.
Okay. Awesome. There is some confidence. I feel the confidence oozing.
I feel like you're going to get votes either way.
I do too. It's like,
please, guys.
I don't think you're going to have to do that.
She's younger. All right. Let's hit it. So I'm not sure who goes first because I'm not sure who won last week because it's kind of split again. So let's let Rachael go first this week.
Oh, okay. I picked this joke. It's real close to my heart. Okay. Honestly, it is. I got to MC the state fair pageant one year. And so I'm at the Missouri State Fair and there was just this lull and we're waiting on a contestant. And I'm so stupid or dorky or I don't know what, a combination of the two things. I said, let me give a joke. And this is the joke that I told to the whole arena. And I hope you guys like it better because nobody laughed. But I'll never forget it. What do you call a fish with 3 eyes? A fish.
Oh goodness.
That was a little better than the reception I got at the state fair. It was like crickets, and this was a huge arena of people, but it is totally a dad joke.
Yeah,
it's totally a dad joke.
It
plays well on this show.
We probably go a little bit. We go a little too far sometimes, probably. I don't know.
Yes, you do, Josh. Yes, you do.
Goodness. All right, you want to go or you want me to?
You go ahead. I'm going to pick mine after you do yours.
What?
So I was so shocked the other day. I was having a conversation with my grandmother, and she told me that she had decided to be cremated. She couldn't believe it. I asked her why, and she said, well, it's my final hope to have a smoking hot body.
Oh, boy.
I like it.
Now I'm not sure
which one to use.
I'm not sure which one to use now. Okay, I'm gonna lose.
Is that you're gonna lose? You're intimidated by my fish joke, is what it is.
I am. That's what got me.
I got it.
I don't know how I'm gonna top the fish joke.
3 eyes, get it? I.
Yeah, it hit me right in the head. Okay, so this is so bad. I think I'm addicted to cheese.
Uh-oh.
But don't worry, it's only mild. I knew it was bad. I didn't want to waste a good one because I got beat. So,
wow.
Okay. Moving on.
Oh man.
But I am. That's no lie, though. I really am addicted to cheese. Like that's the greatest stuff ever. Cheese is awesome.
I like that. I made some au gratin potatoes. I guess that's what they are. I don't know. I don't go by recipe, but just the layers of potatoes with some onion and cheddar and all the seasonings, and pour the cream in and cook them till they're done. All I know is it's really good and it was really cheesy. And
yes.
Anyway, so I made some of those over the weekend. We enjoyed that.
Really good and really cheesy. That sounds good. So I do want to ask you one more question, Rachael, before we go. And thank you again for being here.
Oh yeah.
But for having me.
I watched one of your videos, I guess it was about a week ago, somewhere around there. And you was talking about, God just being good to us and things like that. And you said, God thought of everything, like he done so much for us. And you said, I'm thankful for taste buds.
Yeah.
And I was like, that, we can all say, I'm thankful I'm alive. I'm thankful God does this. But God, you was talking about it, like he actually chose to let us enjoy food.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's those little things we take for granted. That hit me. I was like, that is so good. He could have just let us eat grass or something.
Yeah, he knew we needed food. Like we have to fuel our bodies, but he didn't have to make it taste good. And even going so far as to give us all these different zones of like sweet and sour and salty, and everyone having different preferences. No two people's taste buds are even the same.
Yeah.
Yep.
He didn't have to make it taste good, but he did. Like the sun doesn't have to feel so good on your skin. You know what I mean? Yeah. Roses don't have to have fragrance, and we don't have to be able to enjoy the smell of it. Like in Leviticus, how God is constantly, it's an aroma pleasing to the Lord, an aroma pleasing. I'm like, we truly are made in his image because he has these senses too. He likes the way things smell and the way things feel. And heaven must be something definitely out of this world.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's just a fact. That's
a fact. Sure. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. You've been a pleasure to talk to today, and
absolutely.
And it definitely won't be the last time. If you're willing to come back and hang out with a couple
for sure. I'm going to ask my husband and see what our schedule looks like, but I'd really love to meet up with you guys at the meetup in August. I think that would just be epic. And my husband's from that area, so he likes Crossville. He's born and raised in Cookeville, well, Sparta, just south of Cookeville. So I think it would be so awesome to come meet you guys and meet your audience there, and hopefully
we'd love to meet you too.
It'd be great.
That would be awesome to get to meet you guys too. And not because, a lot of people, and I know this is the way it is, they say, I want to meet that YouTuber, but I just like meeting good people. And I mean, we have some really good people in the community. So we're really looking forward to meeting some of them and reconnecting with some we have met. And we're just excited. So hopefully that works out and we get to see you in a few weeks.
I hope so.
All right. Well, any last words, guys?
I'm fresh out.
That is
anything speechless. Me too.
You better go now. You better go. I'm trying not to think. It's hard.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Rachael, for being here. I know that most all of you probably know who Rachael is, but if you don't, go check her out. Rachael Strickland, great channel, great person. We appreciate you. And until next time, guys, thank you for tuning in and checking us out and hanging out with the two old guys. And we'll see you next time. We're out.
See ya.
Bye, guys.